There are so many conversations going on throughout the Marvel Snap community about the appeal of budget focused decks, the ability to climb with things that are not just piles of the latest meta cards. I actually had a lot of success playing an old classic, and I think it's actually incredibly customizable. Now, my build is what it is, but I do think that right now there are so many potential swap ins, and we'll talk about all of that during the card by card breakdown, of course. So let's get started with this look at a new twist, kind of, on an old classic that is still absolutely good, Silver Surfer. This is the list of Silver Surfer that I was playing. It is actually notably Series 3 heavy as opposed to Series 5 heavy. There are some Series 5 required cards in this thing. Notably, Gwenpool is the one that is the hardest to legitimately replace, but I think you can do it if you absolutely have to. And I think the big thing about Silver Surfer that makes it a good deck right now is that there have almost never been more relevant 3-drops than there are right now. There are plenty of people playing Ajax decks. They get completely blown out by Luke Cage. You're not playing Luke Cage? Okay, you can play Cosmo in there, because there are plenty of people playing Bounce decks or Symbiote Spider-Man decks that get blown out by Cosmo. You don't want to play Juggernaut? Okay, you can play pretty much whatever tech card you want there. Red Guardian? Sure. Nocturne? Totally fine. The point I'm trying to make here is that you can substitute nearly every 3 in this list for another 3. Even something like Sebastian Shaw, who is best in slot there, if you don't have him, you can play Gladiator, right? Like, there are a lot of different options, and I think this is crucial too. This deck is usually at its best when its tech is relevant, and that means Killmonger plus whatever else, right? So a lot of the time that can be Mobius being relevant, another card you could play in here, Cosmo being relevant, Luke Cage being relevant, Red Guardian being relevant. And I think this is a metagame in which more of your tech options are relevant than we have previously had in other metagames. Silver Surfer has always been a good, solid points-based strategy, but what it lives and dies on is what cards 9, 10, 11, and 12 are and how well they match up into the metagame. And right now there are so many options that I genuinely think Silver Surfer is a very solid budget choice. I had a nearly 67% win rate with this deck, and I do think that there are almost infinite numbers, not literally, but like even in Series 1 and 2, there are many viable possible replacements. So you should be able to play a version of this deck with pretty much whatever collection you actually want. The main thing to think about with Nova is when you actually want to be able to play him. It can be very important to get those extra procs on a Hope Summers when you are trying to run into like a turn 4 Hope Summers into turn 5 2/3 drops. And so sometimes it's best to save this guy. The conflict that you have is you don't really want to save this guy if you're going to start Gwen pooling, because getting points on Nova is almost always completely worthless, a complete waste of Gwen pool procs, and just a very sad thing to accomplish regardless. You don't play this guy on turn 1, but I can forgive you if you find yourself in circumstances that mean that you're going to want to play him on turn 2. We all know how good Forge can be in a deck like this. There are so many good options for this guy, but really what we're talking about is we're going to use him on turn 2 to hit a Brood, but really we'll use him on turn 2 to hit anything. And then we'll sometimes use him on turn 5 to hit something else and actually fill up that energy. Forge is a very powerful card that everyone has access to. There should be no need for a budget replacement for this. If you're looking for a budget replacement for Forge, you have bigger problems than Forge in terms of replacements. Brood is a Silver Surfer staple, a card that scales well with Gwenpool buffs, a card that creates a lot of 3-drops on the board and is able to be copied by Absorbing Man. That's just a very strong thing to actually have access to right now. You are generally interested in cards that get on the board and get you ahead. In a fairly Alioth-heavy metagame, you have to be concerned about your ability to come from behind, so getting ahead by playing Brood into Abs is actually a very important part of how this deck plays when you are playing against those decks. Silver Surfer is basically just a rate monster here, and instead of talking about Silver Surfer the card, we could talk a little bit about Silver Surfer the deck and why it's so dependent on what cards 9, 10, 11, and 12 are. The reason for that is because those are a pretty decent portion of your cards. And you have your nut draws. They're going to be about as strong as they're going to be anyway, right? You have like your Hope Summers into multiple cards into turn 7 or turn 6, 7 energy, Silver Surfer, Absorbing Man. You have your nut draws with Gwenpool, Absorbing Man. You have your nut draws with Brood, Absorbing Man. You have a bunch of different nut draws, but those are only ever going to be as good as they are in terms of putting points on the board. And what's really going to determine the texture of how matchups play out is the tech you play alongside them, the remaining cards, and how you want to be set up to do that. Silver Surfer rewards you for playing relevant tech by giving it extra power. Juggernaut is alternately really good and totally unplayable. It is a fine and good card in a world of Alioth. In a world where your opponent is not playing Alioth or where they're not playing Ultron, you can win a ton of games off of a Juggernaut. Like, this is just a card that you have in your deck that you don't need to play, but there are so many situations where it's just like, I'm going to win this game because of Juggernaut. I have priority, they can't Alioth me. Get out of my game. I have the card Juggernaut. It is that big of a deal. This is a card that is good into like setup combo-y type stuff too. You can really mess with Wong gamers into the point that you may not need Cosmo or Red Guardian. You still might, but you are able to genuinely impact sort of telegraphed combo decks with a card like Juggernaut in a real way. The more you know what your opponent is doing, the better this card is. I don't think he's required. This is a very easy flex for Red Guardian or Nocturne or whatever you really want to run there. Cosmo's fine too. But it is a very powerful card right now. Killmonger and Nova have basically been in every Surfer deck. You get to spread power out across all of your cards on the final turn of the game. And to some degree, it's not just about the other tech cards. Surfer is also sort of about whether Killmonger is good. And right now, even though it's not a zoo meta per se, Killmonger has a lot of relevant targets, whether that be the Ultron out of a Sandman deck if you're able to lose priority, or just the 1-drops all of these decks are playing in order to activate their Wiccans, or the Marvel Boy targets in your Sasquatch deck or your Mockingbird deck. He just has a lot of small targets. There aren't as many matchups like Zoo where Killmonger automatically wins, but he is better than normal in this metagame. Luke Cage is a pure meta call. One of the things that's happening a lot at the high end of Infinite right now is people are playing like a lot of Man-Thing, US Agent, Ajax type stuff. I don't really want to deal with that, and Luke Cage is very good at making sure that I don't have to deal with that. And so that's why he's in here, but again, pure meta call. If you're more worried about people discounting on you, you can play Mobius. If you want a one-size-fits-all tech card, you can play Red Guardian. If you want a on-reveal tech card, you can play Cosmo. If you want to beat up on decks that are playing Limbo, you can play Nocturne. So many options in front of you. Hope Summer's one of the few cards in here that is expensive that is genuinely hard to replace. Hope Summers is your plan B, where plan A is just do something stupid with like a Brood Absorbing Man or whatever. Hope Summers is a plan B that is honestly sometimes better than the plan A, because Hope Summers allow you to go like Hope Summers Gwenpool, right? And then because you held your Brood, you might get extra value out of your Brood there. Like, it's not a guaranteed thing, but Hope Summers enables a lot of the weird stuff in this deck. And honestly, rather than it being plan A and plan B, when I played this deck, it felt a lot more like they were both plan A. Like, this was 1A and 1B, maybe in like whatever order, depending on the matchup. So Hope Summers is one of the most important cards in this deck because you use that mana advantage very, very crucially. Your turn 5s basically always suck. If you can play a card onto Hope Summers on turn 4, your turn 5s are suddenly 6 energy. You get to play 2 3s. You can understand why that's important. This is a very good thing, especially into Sandman decks, and it's part of why Hope Summers is superior to Sarah in this list. Sebastian Shaw, just a very solid, good, giant threat. One of the things that this deck does very well is have multiple buffs go on to Sebastian Shaw. You have not just Nova as a method of making this happen, or Silver Surfer as a method of making this happen, but you have Surfer into Absman, you have Gwenpool into Absman. You have multiple different ways of making sure this guy gets pretty big. It's not uncommon to see him at 12, and that's just a very, very large number for a card that costs 3, and he ends up being your sort of standalone big guy threat a lot of the time. There is like some debate internally for me when I have him and Brood in hand and I have a Gwenpool that I'm going to play as to like if I can play anything else. I usually will, but sometimes it's just better to get the guy on the board than it is to hold them in your hand expecting max value. You have to really plan out what your turns are going to be. Like, what am I actually going to be playing? Am I going to be able to get both of these out? Is it worth sandbagging them for Gwenpool, or should I just play one of these? Copycat is just a utility stat stick. There's absolutely no reason not to run her if you have her, but she's far from a card that makes or breaks the deck. Every replacement for every other card we've talked about here is a totally viable replacement for Copycat. Perfectly fine to do whatever you want in this slot. I think I enjoy having the information. I enjoy the fact that she's a 3/5 body. I enjoy the fact that sometimes she's very above rate because of that information. That's really the draw of Copycat here. Outside of that, you can play whatever tech card. Might even be better. You do so much broken stuff with this card. It's not just Brood abs anymore. You are also doing things like Gwenpool abs. You are doing things like Surfer abs, right? Like, you have so much access to energy because of Hope Summers, and that makes this card a lot more playable. A lot of the time, Absorbing Man is playing for like 10, 12 stats when you play it in this deck, and you just have a lot of ability to be surprising with your power. And that is one of the main draws that this deck has. Like, so much of its power is in hand only because of Gwenpool, because of Silver Surfer, because of Absorbing Man. And there are just so many different permutations of the end board state that you can put out there that it's very difficult to like reasonably play around all of them. This is also part of why I like Juggernaut in the deck. You're not always playing him, but there's just no real way for your opponent to understand whether they should play around, you know, Juggernaut Silver Surfer, Luke Cage Silver Surfer, or like Surfer Absman off of Hope Summers. These are all like options you have, and you can explore all of them in any way you want. Gwenpool is the 4-drop this deck has dreamed of forever. Just a phenomenally useful, very strong 4-drop. You are very interested in everything she does. You are also generally interested in a 4/6. I will use this time to talk about Symbiote Spider-Man in here, which I think is something you can do, but it's very hard for me to fit it in because I prefer Absorbing Man right now because it is a more reliable method of doing all the things that you want to do, because it's better with Brood, for all of those reasons, right? And also, I don't think you can run Gwenpool and Symbiote Spider-Man and Absorbing Man. You kind of have to choose, and I think I'd rather have Gwenpool and Absorbing Man than I would some other combination here. Remember, you still are a Surfer deck. It's a meaningful cost to run non-3-drop cards, and you are able to do it because Gwenpool is awesome, but it's not something you want to get in the habit of doing. All right, y'all, I hope you enjoyed that look at Silver Surfer. I gotta tell you, I did not expect to be making a Silver Surfer video. I truly wasn't planning on it. I lost some games, and I was just like, oh man, I just want to play something simple and easy, and let's see if Silver Surfer is any good. And then it just was. It just was good. And I think that a lot of the time people get over caught up in like trying to metagame for specific things, and they forget that it's like, look, you can just play something good. It might not be the perfect deck, but if you have like a good deck with some relevant tech for the metagame, you're probably going to do it pretty well. And Silver Surfer just, it felt like that for me, where it was like, you know what? Why am I even stressing so hard about this? I could just play Silver Surfer and have relevant tech and get a lot of value out of it. And that's exactly what happened. So I hope you enjoy the gameplay. It's possible that at the beginning, I'm a little tilted because, again, I started playing this deck after I was mad. If I am, I apologize. It happens to the best of us, and Lord knows I'm not that. I'm just the KM best of us. As always, I've been KM Best. You've been phenomenal. I will see you in the next one. Make sure you like and subscribe, and enjoy the gameplay. And I figure no one plays around Ultron out of this. I need a deck that I can play Ultron in that no one plays around the Ultron. Mine has no Sandman. Like, ooh. Okay, am I a Hope Summers Gwenpool Absorbing Man gamer, or am I a Brood Gwenpool? No, I'm like a Brood. Oh, jeez. Okay. Now I'm a lot of things. Now I'm just a lot of things. Simman Cord. Alright. That Brood is insane. That Copycat is insane. Brood actually just a 2 a billion over here? Okay. Like, it's not great, but... Am I meant to actually brood the right over here? Like, am I meant to just do this, even though it's not, like, technically optimal? And then just go, like... What's in the middle? Okay, we should win here. We are putting at least 3 cards back in our hands. But in the middle, we have an additional 4 power off the Surfer. And an additional, at least, more guy over there. Yeah. We did, like, it's not my favorite play we've ever made. But it is okay. Did they lose to pass? No. The only reason that this game looks the way it does is we got a bunch of cards out of our hands. We got a... Just actually giving up. Goddamn, I love that. They just totally beefed it. IMO, you should have snapped on 2-3. I had no idea what they were. I didn't feel confident enough with that. Oh no! So if they are a Wiccan deck, they are off Wiccan here. Why Jug and a Clog meta? You could be right. It could just be ass. I'm willing to believe you if you just tell me that shit sucks shit. Whoa, what? What's happening right now? Symbiote incoming. It's a good thing I have this loot stage. I'm gonna snap. I'm gonna snap it. Where's the Nova going? It's going on one of these. Okay, so I'm no longer scared of any symbiote bullshit here. And I feel like it's actually probably just like this. I'm no longer scared of like, oh, I get hazmated and die. They have 7 here. I'm not sure how we die. We can either Luke Cage it or Juggernaut it. The Luke Cage plan adds 11. So it's more than 11. It's 11. It's 17. It's adding 13. So go to 20 in the middle. I just figured, like, I don't want to get US agented is basically my thought. I don't know. Not big enough, thanks to Luke. Whoa, buddy! Oh, hell yeah, dude. Lucas Cage. Ooh, voice. This is not the time for that. Don't Reddit at me. What do you think has been the best season pass card this year? That's a really good question. Okay, so we have 50 options. We're boomer snaping boomer snape, 100%. We're boomer snaping boomer snape every single time here. Cat Marvel is super spooky. Copycat is a lion. See? Look at that. That was a super winnable game if they, like, if various things didn't occur in the way that they did. I'm just gonna go for the Brood there. I don't care. Oh, no. Now I get Zola'd, don't I? I guess now I don't get Zola'd. Yeah, I still can get Zola'd is the fucking problem. But I beat one Zola by going like this. I beat most things, I think, this way. If it's just like a big guy, I can go bigger on... Wait, did I count wrong? No, I counted right. We go to 26 in the middle, right? No, it's just like a big null. And we go to 26 in the middle on the Killmonger. Dude! Oh, wait, we have Brood into an Absorbing Man there. It's not the end of the world. It's like kind of okay. It's not really okay, but it's like kind of. My Twitter got banned? What happened to your Twitter? For inactivity. Interesting. Not what I expected there. So where are they gonna Alioth here? Let's see. If I'm them, I'm thinking I just nail the Alioth and win. Yeah, it's pretty much just where are they Aliyah thing, right? You're looking at this board, thinking about what lane to Aliyah. Yeah, I honestly don't know. I guessed it wrong. Oh, I guessed you're right. Got it right. All right. But yeah, that whole game was very much just like, where are we Aliyah thing, right? Is he going to play the demon somewhere else? What happened to Killmonger? I'm not going to lie, Woody. I thought I had priority. I was like, I have priority. I was wrong. I was incorrect about this. I was just like, oh, I have prio. Didn't. Fucking didn't. I realized I didn't have prio when you came into the chat and you said, what happened to Killmonger? Wonder what's happening here. They'll never guess. They'll just never guess what's happening here. Even if they Ultron, I still win, I believe. Based on the power of Killmonger, Silver Surfer. The Ultron bots max out at 16 here. And we just beat the shit out of that. Okay. Yeah, man, I know. I was aware of the Ultron here. But the best you can do is just try to minimize tilt. It's always kind of going to happen, I think. Not playing this yet. I will play it on 2, given Dream Dimension, if I don't have a Hope Summers. That's my criteria. If I don't have a Hope Summers, I'll let it ride. Wait, what is this copycat? I should probably pay attention. Holy shit. They're snapping that? They must have gotten my Surfer then. That's the only thing I can think of. Because I have this, and it just seems messed up. Wow. That's tough. So that's my absorbing, man. So this is a Shadow King deck. They also have my Silver Surf. Solid. Quick token question. Do not make any token purchases until next month happens. Madam Web is coming out, and I think she might just be really fucking good. Sorry, not next month. But Madam Web is coming out, and she's super fucking scary. She be scary as fuck. Is your weekend going well? It ain't bad. Even more so than Casanova? Yeah, it's not really about like Madam Web or Casanova. It's more just like, wow, this shit's generally horrifying. Just generally extremely scary shit to see. I mean, how big is their shit? I think I win. Close. You hate to see all of it. I do enjoy seeing that. Is Kamartaj hot or something? It's wild. Oh. So they're Surfer. Fuck, that's a big guy. I like the jug. Oh my god. This is horrifying. Maybe winnable, maybe not. No target. This seems fine. Wait, is me playing this rock gonna lose me the game? No, we're fine. For a second, I was like, I shouldn't have played the rock. It's gonna lose me the fucking game. It was -3.